crime pays. That's a fact worth facing. At this very minute there's a bit of money making happening within a block or two of this very location, and not a thing a cop can do to stop it. Yeah, drugs poison our community, but people do drugs. That's a profit opportunity for somebody that's ready, young, willing, and able, and not about to leave a pile of money on the table. Yeah, people do drugs. Why? Cause they're fun. Get high, get drunk, forget an addiction. Get paid whenever somebody gets off on them. Tax free, even in Colorado and Washington. It's really bad for everybody on average, but a few are making out like bandits. As civilian casualties rise, they be screaming west side, east side, gang banging and drug dealing for the money and adrenaline rush feeling. And plus, if you didn't notice, all the fly ladies wanna be a Beyonce beside a Jay-Z. Selling drugs on the road to fame. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs, it's a loaded game. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs, everybody knows your name. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs all day, it's the only way to get rich real quick. Cause he sell cocaine. She was young and really sexy. She liked guys who did things that are risky, not stupid things, high stakes things, where you die or get the high takings. Time's wasting, young eyes gazing at the high life, skyscrapers and wine tastings. Locally there's some income inequality, so study up on winner takeology. You with the soldiers or goat herders? Do you flip burgers or commit murders? Or do you try to walk a middle path between victim and perpetrator of wrath? Every choice is a risk. Stick to the facts. The middle class is a thing of the past. Do the math. 2 + 2 = 4. Hardcore money hungry gangbangers, and they're looking to score. And they know about the danger, but look at the rewards. The risky proposition that they're pushing towards. The power, the money, they want to be around that. Fall down, bounce back, listen to the soundtrack. Selling drugs, rap songs show you the way. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs, yeah, it's totally great. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs, ah, don't be afraid. Nicki let him hit it cause he sell cocaine. Selling drugs all day, it's the only way to get rich real quick. Cause he sell cocaine.
I seen almost everything. I seen the killing, and I seen fights like regular, like almost every day when I was in high school.
Well, one of the times there was like this murderer, and he broke into our backyard, and he was hiding in our bushes and stuff with a gun. And I don't know, it was scary.
I have experience with gang things because my uncle, like, he wanted to be jumped in, so he got jumped in. And one time, we were at the mall, and, like, a whole grunt, like, it was, like, 20 of them, and it was just me and my uncle, and, like, me and my uncle just kept on walking. It was like, please get out of my way. And all of a sudden, they just started jumping them, and, like, I was screaming for help. I was, like, 10, 11 years old. I didn't know what to do. I started screaming. I was crying. And, like, all of a sudden, here comes a whole bunch of police, and, like, the police didn't want to do nothing because the other people had, like, knives, and my uncle finally got up from, like, when he got jumped by him, and, like, he took one of them, and he cracked one of the dude's necks. I was like, that's nasty, Uncle. He was like, well, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, like, one time, like, some guy, he wanted to fight me, and I didn't know, and he set up a fight.
A lot of it is because it was fight back or just get beaten into the ground.
If you're born into a poor family, well, you don't have the choice to just, step out and go to a richer family. Like, I can see why people, steal, why they kill, why they're greedy,
I'm telling him all my family members are all drug addicts. I mean, it's all drug related.
It's like you mess with one of us, you mess with everybody.
You're either with the group or you're singled out, and it sucks.
Because when you're getting beat up, it's not that fun. But like when you're helping people beat somebody else up, it's kind of fun.
Like, you love it. You like doing what you do. I mean, you feel strong. You feel powerful. You think people riding around shooting people or hurting people, they think it's fun. They think they've done this for so much. They think it's a normal thing to do.
We have like gang members in my family, but it's like we don't talk to them because we try to stay away from them, and especially me because I have a baby.
Yeah, my mom had issues with drugs and prostitution and in and out of jail and stuff.
Yeah, because I was out running the streets when I was like 5.
No, I was constantly in fights. A lot of it was from my brother and my dad. On their side of the family, there's a lot of gang. So I was automatically labeled. I never got my childhood. I had to be a mom basically since I was 7.
You learn out there the way street life is.
If life gives you a hard time, you know, throw something harder at it.
Well, I really don't know how to like cope with it, so I'll just go out and go party. That's how I get in trouble.
I identified with the feral cats, you know, because they come out at night, they're untouchable, they don't trust, you know, until they get to know you.
Just everything was going haywire.
Turn my mic up louder. I got to say something. Lightweight, step it aside when we're coming. Feel it in your chest, the syllables get pumping. People on the street, they panic and then they start running.
But you have to be real. People fight to solve problems.
You get influenced. Half the people that are in gangs don't even know their history, or like they don't know nothing. They're just little kids wanting to. I think it's because some kids feel lonely, you know? You feel strong, you feel powerful, you feel like you're unstoppable. And it's like you mess with one of us, you mess with everybody. Put it just like that.
He heard a rumor that a man wants to test him, and there was no hesitation, no question. Name the time, the place, and the weapon of choice, and go ahead and bring the rest of your boys. It's better to catch a beating than be humiliated. Plus he's got a brother that's affiliated, and the gangsters he pals around with told him he could help them out and sell some ounces, but only once he's got a bit of a street rep, cause out here weakness is seen as a defect. So lately he's a lot more provocative, acting out hip-hop skits with accomplices. Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants it? Who wants to talk nonsense and get stomped quick? His mama told him you don't need fights, but he wasn't trying to live an adrenaline-free life. And every kid he ever met who backed down from a scrap ended up as just a blip in the background. And he was destined to be somebody, even if he had to beat someone bloody. He was happy to keep the peace. Yeah, he could be a good kid for weeks and weeks, but any disrespect would unleash the beast. His pops could have stopped him, but he's deceased. Welcome to the arms race, where there's no replacing the loss of faith. Welcome to the sweat box, you gotta get back up just to make the threat stop. Welcome to the conflict zone, where nobody's making it on their own. It's not safe to be walking home, so lock and load. Now word on the street, there's a man wants to test him, and if he isn't ready, then he's gonna get questioned again and again, and eventually set a precedent and get the rep of a victim instead of the rep of somebody never to be trifled with. Cause nowadays no one fights with fists. A sense of righteousness is nothing to fight with against enemies with knives and ice picks. Nah, survival is imperative, a hell of a lot more so than fairness is. Lack of preparation is carelessness. Just die now if you're scared to live. It's not a problem that guns couldn't solve. Guns get involved because guns get involved. The trigger's a pleasure switch, and when you press it, it's awesome. But it was just a precaution. He got it from his older brother's homie Dexter, who's a gangster, just part of his network. He's impressive for his rep and for his net worth. Plus he's connected inside like an expert. He kept it loaded but he didn't plan to use it. Dex told him to hold it for a bit cause it was boosted. He held it in front of a mirror with a toothpick. On the grip was a crucifix. Welcome to the arms race, where there's no replacing the loss of faith. Welcome to the sweat box, you gotta get back up just to make the threat stop. Welcome to the conflict zone, where nobody's making it on their own. It's not safe to be walking home, so lock and load. Now word on the street, there's a man wants to test him, and the outcome is still a question. The physical outcome breaks a nose, but the one that really matters is reputational. They call it a trivial altercation, but ain't nothing trivial about loss of face when face is the currency you currently trade in. Why seek a simplistic explanation? Why you gotta act like that? His young cousin who's a dancer said, but his plans were set. She couldn't understand why he has to answer the threat and won't stop till the challenge is met and the cancer spreads. The streets talking, he went to the spot like he was sleepwalking, but he was not gonna risk it and go solo. His enemy was part of a loco crew that's known to go loco. You pick a fight with any one of them and it's with everyone they're tight with. So he arrived with a couple of sidekicks, packing the pistol that was loaned to him by Dex. Escalation is inevitable when you're not the only one with a trigger to pull. The sun set on a blood-encrusted street and two young men in custody. They were kept separate and peppered with questions by detectives. Yeah, now check the method. We found your fingerprints on the murder weapon. So where'd you get it? It's connected to several other felonies recently committed. Tell us how you became acquainted with the victim. Who pulled the trigger? Your accomplice said it was you who did it. Yeah, he confessed it. Cooperate and you'll get a reduced sentence. Otherwise, life in prison if convicted. The pressures never let up. They both get the same speech, the same setup. The victim ain't got nothing left from the head up, and the killers are trapped in a prisoner's dilemma. A prisoner's dilemma. A game with no winner. Each knows the deal. The streets have a code, it's easy. It goes like this, don't squeal. But if you don't, and your partner does, well, he walks away and you stay locked up. But if you talk and he stays mum, then you walk away and he's the caged one. And if you both snitch, then you both do a stretch. But it's not as long as if only one defects, so it's best if you both just zip. But how can you trust that he won't flip? I mean, if he talks, then you better. But he's thinking the same, what a dilemma. The only way he could really be trusted is if snitches always met with street justice. Suspect witness don't come outside, you might get your wig pushed back tonight. In a cell you have time to contemplate, how do you make people try and cooperate? Snitching can put you inside of a jail, but crime is a similar kind of betrayal. From the perspective of innocent citizens, criminals fit the description of snitches, and vigilance means you phone in a tip. So either you're snitching or going legit. When it's locked up in boxes, a prisoner's mind explores paradoxes. Loyal to gangs or civil society, questioning why you were living so violently. But here in the yard, society's on the wrong side of the bars. And as soon as he's sent up, a prisoner faces some other dilemmas.
At the age of 13, I was incarcerated for stabbing another young man. I served a year in juvenile hall. Came out and was celebrating with my homeboys, and we came across our rivals at a park. We ended up having a gang warfare fight. I committed a crime that got me incarcerated at 15, and I didn't leave prison until I was 24. I was out on the streets for just a little less than 6 months and committed 2 attempted murders. When I went into prison, my mindset at that time was, I am receiving 22 years. And the only thing that I could think of was becoming of rank and status. And I achieved that. Because there is what we call social status in prison. It's a recognition. And with that recognition comes power. It is a strong thing when you can tell another inmate to go take that man's life, and he does it without question. While serving this time, I became a validated gang member. I had been sent to segregated housing units. And in this institution, you have the only thing you have is boxers, socks. And when I was there, we were pitted to two-man cell out in the yard, and we'd fight for it was cockfighting. The tattoos that we wear are our shields. When we go to dog cages and we work out, it's to let the other inmates know that this is the shield that's going to hit you. And when we walk away, you're going to see our shield in the back that took your life. I've seen men burnt to death. I've seen men stabbed in faces and eyes. I've seen throats slashed. It's beyond the scope. Our language, we use our culture, we use our history to entice these young men. And once we get them in, it's a commitment for life. And the only way out is sangre ba sangre, which is blood out. And you will give your life to it. Our movement is about supply and demand of drugs. Our movement is about controlling these streets and controlling the penitentiaries in the state of California. And how we do that is we manipulate, we utilize every individual that becomes part of this movement.
if you're going to represent us, you're going to represent us with your life. And when you represent us with your life, you are going to be looking at social status when you come to prison. You will be this individual, and you will call shots, and you'll have orders, and you'll be given territory. But they don't tell you the after effects of it. You're going to have to degrade yourself. You're going to have to take human life. I had a mentor that I idolized when I went to prison. He was a ranking general, one of the founding fathers of the movement. And when he walked away, to me, he was a coward. After suffering the loss of my wife, whom I met through an inmate that I was very, very close to, she came to see her brother before his final days. He was killed in a prison riot. She was killed on her way back. And I began to understand for the first time in my life that loss. I have lost my father when I was in prison. I felt nothing. When I finally was able to allow my heart to find that love, I lost it. Well, at this time in my life, I decided to reach out to him because he had walked away, and I wanted to know how would I go about it. I started studying with monks on centering myself, and I started meditating. I started analytically looking at my life and seeing the damage that I controlled and the damage that I've caused. And I wanted to be a positive energy in this world, so I started giving back, and I walked away from the prison movement. He taught me the presence of God. It's not about the ink on my body. It's not about where I've been. It's who I am today and how I have found grace today. And now I come to a greater understanding that life is precious. And I've met my wife, and I found an amazing love that is far different than I've ever imagined.
I was afraid of love, and even when we first started going out and stuff, it was new.
She's my soulmate, and she allows me to be who I am.
You know, I have someone in my life that really gets me.
My biggest dream is to make my younger son more aware of seeing a brighter future for himself.
What I learned from here was that I can do it, that I can achieve it.
Now it's just everything I did back then. Now it makes me think like, why couldn't I think like this like 2 years ago or 3 years ago?
Art is my serenity. It's my way of dealing with the madness in my life. What I draw now is about those that are being in prison, those that have lost their lives, those that are being manipulated into giving their lives.
It's a sense of expressing oneself, whether it be dancing or whether it be drawing or whether it be singing, whether it be music, you know.
helps me basically express my emotions in any way I possibly can.
Pastels and just pencil. Just I'll do it when I'm stressed out or when I'm feeling sad. I need to focus on one detail. And sooner or later I'll get done. Sooner or later.
Well, I've always danced. That's like my getaway from everything, is to dance.
Poetry has made me a better person. Makes me feel like a bird, you know? Makes me feel like I'm free. Like I finally spread my wings and just fly.
So it's trying to shift people's imaginations about how to work with young people, how to work with the most troubled, and how to bring them out of their trouble through their own gifts, their own geniuses, their own capacities to be fuller human beings.
I'm a strong believer in God. I'm a strong believer in the path to the divine. I believe that we can put an end to the madness that is hitting our streets.
I think we need to work very hard to challenge the very system that engenders all of this. I don't think none of this is an accident.
The community, us residents as a whole, yes, they can change this if we would come together, be united, because when you're united, you become strong.
So my hope is being able to be an instrument or to be a person that can influence somebody else's life to go in a better direction.
There's one way of cutting off the head of the snake. And the way you cut the head of the snake off is education.
They're changing for the better because they're being worked with, they're being nurtured, they're being cultivated, they're being taught, all kinds of things. It's a threshold time. The doors open up. And of course, if you don't go through those doors, you can close down.
It's all a path of enlightenment. And how you find that path of enlightenment is how you find it.